River State Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Tony Okocha, has disclosed the real cause of the crisis in the state. Okocha blamed the political crisis in River State on the judiciary. He spoke at a press conference in Port Harcourt, where he berated former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi, for saying that President Bola Tinubu would not relinquish power in 2027. Last week, Amaechi had said, politicians are in Nigeria to steal, maim, and kill, and to remain in power. If you think Tinubu will give it to you, you are wasting your time. Reacting to the comments by Amaechi, Okocha accused Amaechi of attempting to incite the public against the government and craving anarchy. He accused Amaechi of failing to attract developmental projects to the South-South region during his tenure as minister. He said, the judiciary is the problem behind the political crisis in River State. Judges make pronouncements on PDP congresses, even when a superior court ruled otherwise. Emmy, what do you make of the story? Now, this story is two-way. One is, taking a swipe at Amaechi over what he said concerning Tinubu's administration, and then the second one is on the political crisis in River State. What's your take?
First, I will dwell on the political crisis in River State.
Okay.
Because from the background I came from, we say, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, so your peace shall abide. So my peace now, I think my Jerusalem is River State. So we need to do everything or whatever thing we can do, talk, to ensure that there is peace, there is development in River State, because it's my first constituency assistance. The crisis in River State, I think, is something that, for me, is an aberration. It's avoidable. It's unnecessary. Since we live in a democratic era, we are supposed to live our life under the dictate of the democracy as recommended by our ground norm, which is the Constitution. Every action has to conform with the stipulations of the ground norm. That is how the tranquility, the development that we ought to have achieved would have been achieved. But unfortunately, politicians have decided not to submit themselves even to what they vow to uphold. And that is the situation we find ourselves. In democracy, there is what they call the ground norm, which is the Constitution. Every action prohibited or accepted are enshrined in the law. All the actions that are accepted or permissible by the law are not crime. They are not sin. But rather, they are part of the democracy as recommended in the law. Issue of impeachment, when it arose, I think October 30th, 2023, that was the beginning of the crisis. It was all over the airwaves. People were agitating, those for and those against. Those against were saying, no, it shouldn't be. Those for were saying, yes, it's the right way to go. And people began to make their own inputs, their opinions and all that. But people failed to actually ask the pertinent question, which is, was it legal or is it illegal? Nobody gave heed to that. We just wanted to achieve that our sentiment and emotions above what the law says. So we tried to plunge the state into crisis, but we thank God that no massive return. But since then, River State politically has not been in a normal shape. We've experienced several judicial pronouncements and all that, which actually exacerbated the situation. The judiciary in a democracy, they are like the juju priests, the custodian of the shrine, who oversee the traditions and customs of the people. So as the court ought to have acted, safeguarding what is accepted by the law, irrespective of whatever sentiment that may arise. But they refused to do that. A court decided to assume a role that she lacks power, that is giving a nod to somebody, even electing a speaker to the River State House of Assembly, which is an aberration in the eyes of the law, because the court does not have such power as enshrined in section 91 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, and section 92. You don't have the power to elect a speaker for the assembly, but the judge assumed that rule and declare somebody as the authentic speaker and empower the person to carry out the legislative business of the house, which is an aberration. So the other people try to find a way. And that was the beginning of the judicial pronouncement that happened to plunge Rivers State into months deeper political crisis. Contradictory pronouncements, court of coordinate jurisdiction ordering themselves, nullifying judgment, nullifying roots, which I think has not helped the Rivers politics. Since then, I think the judiciary has failed.
Okay.
Has failed. So if Tony Okocha is saying that the judiciary is part of the problem, I think I will concur with him, because the judiciary that's supposed to be the custodian, the chief priest, decided to be emotional, decided to be sentimental, decided to take part instead of standing neutral and ensure that the laws of the land are upheld. So for me, the judiciary ought to be blamed to an extent. Even the longer days for sitting, unnecessary adjournment given to matter that was supposed to be given urgent attention in order to quell the crisis in the state. The judiciary decided to go asleep. They went asleep. From the state high court, the federal high court, the appeal court, even the Supreme Court. There are matters that ought to be considered as matter of importance and urgency in order to save the society from a state of anarchy. But when you went on sleep, you never considered this as important. You were adjourning and throwing matter, something from 2023, we are still here. So assuming some other party decided to take the law into their own hand, because we had when God give order to some persons, he will say he has moved on. He has moved on, particularly the governor of the state. He will tell he has moved on. You have moved on. You can't listen to what the court says. You can't submit to the law. You have moved on. So assuming the other quarter, the other party decided to also move on by doing what they intend to do as the way it pleases them, what would have been the fate of Rivers State? By now, maybe the bloodshed would have been so huge, destruction of property would have been so huge, but some party decided to mellow down and follow the right path. That is why I think the level of peace we have also enjoyed. So the judiciary are really to be blamed to a large extent. Then the politician himself.
Okay. The
politician also have a blame. You cannot be somebody who have agreed that this is what you submit yourself to, that is democracy, and there is a law that governs the democracy, and you say, yeah, you submit yourself to the rules of this law, then you went back and be doing otherwise. You are not helping the society. You are not helping the states. You are not helping the people. Everybody is selfish to an extent, according to Thomas Hobbes. Every human action is born out of selfishness. He is thinking about himself, how to better himself, the me and I and my family. But how do we then achieve peace in a society where you have larger interests, variety of interests? Is what they call, we now have to submit ourselves to some agents called government and the constitution. The constitution become the conscience of the state. The constitution become the watchdog. The constitution become the yardstick that measures every action. As a politician, you say this is what you will do. You went there, you give him the opportunity, and you decide to do otherwise. You do your own. That is extreme selfishness. You don't care about the state, but you go to the public, you will say you are for the people, by the people, and for the people. That's your song, but you are doing otherwise. Politicians need to tame themselves, tame their inordinate ambitions, tame whatever interest you think you have, subdue down your interest to the larger interest of the state. But when you continue to pursue your interest, other people want to pursue their interest at the expense of the state. At the end of the day, nobody will achieve anything. It will become a state of anarchy for everybody. We run, everybody will run. So how will you be there for the people?
But now, there is this, while blaming the judiciary, we should also look at the implementation of these court orders and judgments as well. I mean, judiciary gives, the courts will give order, yes, and in some cases, judgment. And who enforces implementation of court judgments and orders? And why are we lacking in that area? Because one would say to a large extent, part of the reason why Rivers State crisis probably exacerbated to the level it has been, could be because, the court gives judgment. I mean, courts of competent jurisdiction in this instance gives judgment or orders, and it is not implemented.
Based on the constitutional framework of the Nigerian democracy, the executive are meant to implement whatever judgment. Implementation of rules, administration of rules are sole responsibility of the executive. In this case, there are areas that the federal government, through the federal agencies like the police and all that, can act. Once the court make a pronouncement, it is onus on the police and all other concerned agencies to ensure that that decision is implemented. But don't forget, we have what they call immunity. Immunity grants of people some level of license to misbehave.
Okay.
Particularly the executive, the governor. That is why you will see when a judicial pronouncement is established by the court, the governor will tell you, I have moved on, because he believes that he has immunity. You cannot arrest him. So he hides under that immunity to perpetrate all manner of disobedience and disregard to court judgments. And also, at the floor of the House, every elected member in the legislative chamber is granted that immunity. So whatever you say or do at the plenary, you are covered by a certain level of immunity. Aside that, the people of the states are also complicit, in the sense that if the executive that are saddled with the responsibility of implementing rules and pronouncement of the court wants to carry out their function, their constitutional responsibility, people has what I call resistant attitude. They will always want to resist based on the definition of their sentiments. They don't care to know if that their resistance stands to even hurt them tomorrow. They are not bothered. For them, it is the now and the now. Let us do it in our own way. Forgetting that if you achieve this your way, another person will want to achieve his own way tomorrow. Then you will not be the crying fowl who will be crying and crying, oh, the Nigeria system is failing. Nothing is working. How will a judge give a judgment and you will not want to obey? Forgetting that yesterday you laid the foundation. You refused to obey. You refused to comply. And when the executors came to actually implement those, you resisted them. So sometimes even the executive, who are saddled with that responsibility, and the federal institution, who are supposed to implement those rules and the judgment, are somehow handicapped based on the actions of the people.
All right.
Imagine if the police went the other time and wanted to arrest Honorable Edison here or Okocha for imposing themselves and declaring themselves Speaker of Rivers Self Assembly. There will be an uproar, a witch hunt, human hunt. All the hunts will begin to hear them. Oh, they are trying to kill democracy. Oh, they don't have respect for law. Oh, the government is taking side. Oh, because it is APC. Oh, that is why they are trying to defend this. Oh, because this one is close to that one. That will be the song of the day. And those persons who are foul of the law will be led free of the law. And another person want to do the same thing tomorrow.
All right.
So for us, every one of us to an extent we are complicit. But how do we go? Henceforth, it's for everybody to respect the law. If you are a civilized citizen, if you are a patriotic citizen, you have the obligation as enshrined in our constitution. Section 24. Nobody talks about that one. We only talk about our right. We don't talk about the responsibility that we owe to the nation to defend her, defend her power, defend her prestige, enhance her power. We don't do that. But rather, it is my right. The Constitution says I have right, freedom of information, freedom of speech, freedom of association. Your association even trying to become a haram, trying to haram Nigeria.
All right.
So I don't think we should continue in that trajectory of disobedience to the grown-up and the competent court of jurisdiction.
All right, very well. Also joining me on Open Conversation this morning is Honorable Kingsley Akumefule. Honorable Kingsley is a regular on Open Conversation and a political analyst. Good morning, Honorable Kingsley, and welcome.
Thank you, Laurentia. Good morning.
Good morning. And Honorable Kingsley, what do you make of this story with respect to Tony Okocha taking a swipe at Amaechi, with respect to what he said during the confab last week? And Again, also blaming the River State crisis on the judiciary. What do you make of that story?
Thank you. Though I came in late, I've been listening to my friend talk of this matter. Honestly, the Nigerian system, for me, is becoming a failed system. A failed system in the sense that everybody does what he or she wants, with the intention that nothing actually will happen. And that, to a great extent, is a challenge to the people. These days, I no longer talk about the judiciary because we all know what the judiciary is doing in Nigeria. And I think that it is high time that Nigerians started rising up to their responsibility. Nigerians are supposed to be watchdog of whatever constitution or decisions that are there for the people. So when the people begin to rise to their own responsibility, you see some of these things will begin to be checkmated. When courts give decisions, it is incumbent on the people to obey those laws. And there are, like he said, there are some agencies of government that are supposed to carry out those responsibilities. But when they refuse and they see the people's action, and if that happens over time, both the politicians and the courts in this case now, the judges, will begin to be afraid of what the people can do. It has happened in so many other climes. If the people rises to their own occasion, their own responsibility, and eschew these sentiments, the bias of ethnicity, religion, and all that, this has been the challenge we have. If two court decisions are given now, and for example, I'm an Igbo man, and I have a case with a Yoruba or an Hausa person, and the court or the lawyer or the judge who gives that judgment is an Hausa man, an Igbo man will say it's because he's an Igbo man, and because of that, why did it happen? If it were to be this person, it won't happen this way. If you give it to a Rivers man and it's between Rivers State and Bayelsa, say because he's a Bayelsa man. That's why that is the sentiment that have been killing us. I think that the people need to eschew this issue of tribalism, ethnicity, and religiousness, or whatever it is called, and begin to look at it the way it is. And when we begin to see things from that prism, a lot of things will change. Yes, we have a challenge in the courts, in the decisions of courts. Each time they give whatever decision they want to give another. Talking about Amaechi, we all know Amaechi in this state. Right from when he was a speaker through when he was a governor and minister and all that, he's a man that talks carelessly. Amaechi most of the times doesn't look at the consequences of the things he says. He just says things the way they are. You know, and the Nigerian country is always afraid, I use the word afraid, of persons of that caliber. But they think they have all it takes to buy their way and all that. So no matter what he says, nobody will question him. Not even the Nigerian, as it is today, he's not part of the Tinubu's government, but even in this government, he has friends and allies everywhere. So if you just want to touch him, people say, no, don't touch him. He has his money to buy his way. If you take him to court, he will buy his way. So that's the challenge we have in Nigeria. People, there are laws, but nobody respects laws. So for Tony Okocha, he's right. Everybody has blamed Amaechi, even those in government have blamed Amaechi for whatever he said. But we should know that this is not the first time, neither is it the second or the third that he has said things like that. And because they say it and get away with it, so they will keep saying and saying the things they like. And of course, nothing happens to them. That's the challenge we have in Nigeria. But I think that a time would come, and if that time should come, I think it should be now, the Nigerian people would rise up to begin to see things from another eye, another prism. Mm-hmm. You know, take responsibilities of whatever happens to them. Because each time it happens, you say, because it's a person. But at the end of the day, it boils down on us. We suffer the pains. We suffer all whatever atrocities they commit. We suffer it. If there is an issue now, you see a poor man commits any little offense, you see what the law will do about that person. But a politician or a rich man who steals so much money, they will not do him anything. At the end of the day, they will just say, plead again. He pays more money. They allow him. a little boy that steals a phone or even food items somewhere, you go to prison. Go to the prison. Do you have any rich man in prison? There's no rich man in prison. They buy their way through the judiciary. They buy their way through whatever means. So the system is so corrupt and it's so painful that we don't know what to do about the system. Nigerians are actually need to rise.
All right.
Amaechi, I didn't really say anything about
Okay,
Amaechi.
go ahead. Yeah.
Please, for Amaechi, you know, I have much respect for him. Those who are watchers of politics in Rivers State and its environs will know that, yes, I'm one of those persons who have stood for Amaechi at a time, even when his own people were running. I stood for him, staked our neck, took risk, ensuring that, yes, Amaechi wasn't mixed up politically in the state. Not because he was giving me anything. He didn't give me a dime. Everything I was doing there was from my pocket. Just because I believe in rightness and I want the right things to be done and also have this political law for him. That's why I was doing all these things. You see, the ground norm in Section 1 stipulates the supremacy of the Constitution over all persons, authority within the Nigeria territory. And the same law recommended the processes through which one can become a government. The processes through which you can hold an authority within the Nigeria state. And he says, for a government to be changed and a new one to be elected, it has to be through what it calls periodic elections. The Constitution didn't say you should go and fight, take it by force, like a religious book recommended. It didn't say so, but it said periodic elections. So the people ought to be great watchers who watch political events and actions of politicians. So when that time comes, that opportunity is provided, you go there, you vote to change or you vote to endorse. That is the only avenue provided by our laws. But it's so unfortunate that we politicians who have enjoyed so much from the state, politicians that have enjoyed the largesse that the state has made, we begin to incite people, make statements that are revolutionary, statements that we want to incite people to go and do the otherwise, plus the state into a state of anarchy. It's very unfortunate. I didn't expect such statement from Right Honorable Rotimi Amaechi. I didn't expect it. I expected him to at least encourage the people to be more political observant, to be more watchers, to be more informed, seek information. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Fill their mind with all manner of information. So when the opportunity comes, you will know how to vote right and vote the right people. Change who you want to change. That is what I expected. But telling people that you will be ready, that some people were ready to die, some people were ready to, and it make me sure 2015 that it because the government in power they saw that some people were ready to die. That is why they relinquished power. No, the government they didn't relinquish power. The government of then, of the Jonathan administration, were defeated and they submitted to what the law says. You were defeated through the ballot papers. All you needed to do is to leave. So they comply with the law, not that they relinquished power. In 2014, we saw Governor Fayemi, who was the governor of Ekiti State. Despite the actions of the federal government in support of Fayose, as against the government of Fayemi then, there were alleged rigging, manipulation, even, all manner of threats were meted on the oppositions. Even the Amaechi and the rest of them were caged on their en route to Ekiti State for campaign. When the coalition was still on, the announcement was on, Fayemi congratulated Fayose even before INEC declared the final results. He was the first person to congratulate the winner of the election then. Not even Jonathan. People say, oh, he congratulated Buhari. No, it was Fayemi. The people of Ekiti State didn't matter that they wanted to die. The people of Ekiti State didn't troop out, oh, we are dying. That is why they relinquished power. Fayemi relinquished power. No. Fayemi saw that, okay, the process have been defeated, and he complied. I expected Amaechi to advise Nigeria to do the same. If you are dissatisfied with the government, all you need to do is to equip yourself with the necessary information, be ready to vote. On that day you go, you cast your ballot, you defend your vote, not by fighting, by being there and demanding that the vote be counted, be sorted out and counted, and the We now announce from the polling unit and to the ward level, to the local government level, and to the federal level. This is what we expected. A leader who has benefited from the state, a leader who has enjoyed so much from the state, a leader who has been in a leadership position should say, and not to incite people to anarchy. For me, his position was wrong. Politicians came to steal, to kill, and to destroy. I agree. But that doesn't mean that you should tell the people to be ready to die. Die how? Can they stand weapons?
All right.